Okay, good morning. Welcome to the meeting of the Hingham Municipal Light Plant Board, February 13th, 2024. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is anybody else recording the meeting today besides the light plant? Okay, I guess not. So thanks everyone for joining us. This morning we're having a presentation from Zoe Eckert from the Mass Municipal Wholesale Electric Company. Sometimes I have trouble remembering what it stands for, better known as MWEC, on the demand response program that they offer for municipal light plants to participate in. And we're glad to hear about this. The board is agreed that we're in search of a demand response program that's going to serve our ratepayers by allowing them to save money to move their use, and also to save money for the light plant, to cause our demand to move to the cheaper times of the day. So looking forward to your presentation, and take it away.
All right, great. So I will just share my screen here. So MWEC runs two different demand response programs for our municipal light plants that participate in them. Those municipal light plants that participate in our programs are referred to as program participants. So they're not necessarily MWEC members. The programs I run are purely elective. So I'll just refer to kind of that cohort as the program participants, so you know who I'm talking about when I say that. But that being said, the largest demand response program that we run right now is our Connected Homes program, which is our Bring Your Own Device program. These are the devices on the screen, are the ones that are available right now. We work with a third-party tech partner called Virtual Peaker, and MWEC is constantly reassessing and assessing new manufacturer players on the field who are partnering with Virtual Peaker to make sure that we're balancing the cost of adding new manufacturing partners to the program while also balancing the fact that we need to have the right manufacturing partners in the program to make sure we're making those devices available that people are actually own and use in our municipal towns. So these are the devices that are currently available. It's a Bring Your Own Device program designed to help control and reduce peak demand times. Part of the program that we offer, along with the administration of the program as a whole, is access to our peak demand team, who are calling those peak events during the month. We use Eversource West and East data. We've got forecast models based on temperature, humidity, precipitation, solar, radiance, asset impact, all of those sorts of things. So that would be something you'd have access to. You'd also have access to, an easy streamline of communication with us if there are resources and considerations you'd like us to take into consideration when we're calling those peak times. But I can jump to the next slide here, and stop me at any moment if you've got any questions, or we can jump back and forth between content. But the way the program works is a ratepayer would enroll their device in the program on the NextZero website, and WEC would then approve or deny the enrollment based on qualifications. Our peak forecast team would call a peak that week, and MWEC would then send a notification, both text and email, to the homeowner, notifying them of the peak. We have the program set up so that it's an opt-out. So if you don't do anything to your device and you don't opt out of the event, your device will participate in the event. But if you don't want to participate in that event, you would have to take the action to not do so. So the homeowner either allows or disallows us to adjust their device, and then we pay out incentives quarterly based on participation. And right now, a homeowner would have to participate in all events in a given month, which are up to 5. in order to qualify for that incentive that month. Our program's been running for 2 years. We've got over 1,000 enrolled homes in the program and over 1,800 enrolled devices in the program. Over 10 MLPs participate in the program. And based off of the, both assumed transmission and capacity cost avoidance, as well as the assumed demand impact of a given device, I also wanted to provide some value per device per year ranges that you can expect to receive per type of enrolled device within the program. So this is what we're seeing.
Can I ask, are you, when you say value per device, are you referring to savings by the light plant, savings for the light plant per device? Okay.
For the light plant, yes. So this is assumed cost avoidance for the light plant for each type of device, and this is factoring in transmission and capacity cost avoidance. It's also factoring in what we see as the participation percentages for each device as well. So for smart thermostats, it's about $125 to $132. This also depends, this is taking in the range of different municipal towns that are doing more marketing, to be blunt. We have a couple municipal light plants that have programs that are thriving, and there's a direct correlation with the fact that they're doing the most outreach and the most marketing. So that is one point of feedback. With whatever demand response program you go with, the more marketing for enrollment you do, we see a direct correlation with that. Once we've got devices enrolled in the program, we see very high participation rates. Those that agree to this sort of program are at this point usually very conscious of what their light department is doing in their town, so they're incentivized to participate. We do have, battery calculations and electric hot water heater calculations. We're still working on those. We try to base the device impact on, legitimate studies on those devices. So it's something we're working on. And I have a couple of points to make on just improvements we'll be making to the program in 2024. So I'll get to those in a moment as well. That being said, to my point about the marketing, one of the things that is built into the program and working with MWEC is that you have access to our marketing team. Our marketing team makes materials for each of our MLPs with their own branding. Chicopee Electric Light joined Connected Homes in January of 2024. So these were some examples of marketing materials we put together for them, for flyers. So we can make any marketing materials that you need and then give them to you to deliver in the ways that you need to. So our marketing team comes in with everything that comes with the Connected Homes program. We do have a second demand response program. Some of our MLPs see EV scheduled charging to be the demand response that they want to focus on. They find EVs to be the most demand-heavy technology that's being adapted in their MLP. So we have an alternative program for those that want to just focus on EVs in Connected Homes, and I'll jump to this slide just to illustrate this. In Connected Homes, a homeowner can either enroll their electric vehicle based on the listed available manufacturers and models, or their electric vehicle charger, which is a charge point, Emporia, or a juice box right now. For EV scheduled charging, this program is where a light department is offering either a free for a fully EV car or generally a 50% off for a hybrid EV, either charge point or juice box charger to the homeowner for the requirement that they are then enrolled in EV scheduled charging, where that charger will be curtailed between the hours of 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. on all non-holiday weekdays, and it will be curtailed to a level 0. The payback period for this program is just under 3 years. So many of our MLPs run that contract for 3 years, although I do have one MLP that's moving for it to be the lifetime of the EV charger, and some do 5 years. So that's up to you if you were to do this program, how long you would want to require someone to be part of it. And what we tend to do is once that contract has expired, we then will do, our team will reach out to that homeowner and we'll let them know about connected homes. So if they're interested, that homeowner can continue to receive, can continue on with the MLP and start receiving that connected homes rebate if they participate in events. So we get a lot of matriculation into the connected homes program from those individuals as well. In 2024, MLEX's demand response is something that's it's growing. It's something we're putting a lot of emphasis on. I run our sustainable energy and energy efficiency department. It's something that I've got an eye on this year. We are focusing on continued and increased program benefit validation and calculations. We're working on making sure we have the correct models and assumptions based on the validation we're able to get from actual participation in the program, and we want to make this more clear and proactively communicated with those that are participating. I'm working on putting together that proactive data access right now. Envision it in the form of dashboards. We're working on kind of that data accessibility point of I want an MLP to be able to go onto a dashboard and see in real time from the actual enrollment and participation in their MLP, what is the assumed cost and capacity and transmission cost avoidance from that program. And we also have, what I'm right now unofficially calling Connected Homes 2.0. We're really looking at increased program offerings around residential batteries and flexible demand response as the evolution of the program moving forward. So I don't have anything to officially announce yet, but we are heavily working on a new demand response program around batteries as well.
So can I ask what do you mean by flexible demand source?
Yep. So I'm looking at the concept of virtual power plants with residential batteries and demand response as the gateway to the demand response in terms of vehicle to grid, vehicle to home. As that technology progresses into the market, it's not quite there. I personally feel it's not quite there in terms of being able to roll out programs with it because the technology still has a little bit to go and it doesn't have that even I think early adapter matriculation yet, but it is something I think is pretty imminent on the market. So we want to have the right framework in place to be ready to launch when that does come onto the market properly.
And so you would be basically looking for a vendor who has a product that you think works and makes sense to provide that and become part of your program. Mm-hmm. I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's the high level. I'm happy to walk through any questions if anyone has it on how the program runs, what we see in program participation, any details like that. I'll just jump back to the overview.
Okay. So I'll ask the board members to just jump in because I can't necessarily see both of you on the screen at any given moment. So if you have questions, please just jump in.
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm curious if you have any data on, kind of what temperatures you typically enact the demand response, especially for thermostat control. I'm sure that you can enact it during heat waves and cold waves. So, and when you do enact the demand response to shut down the thermostats, what do those homes typically do? Do they, get 3 degrees hotter? Or is it 5 degrees hotter, or is it 5 degrees colder?
Yeah. So right now, Massachusetts is not yet really electrified space heating enough for us to see a huge amount of enrollment for smart thermostats that are controlling heating just yet. We do have some, it's just not a majority of the program. So the vast majority of the smart thermostats in our program control air conditioning. So most of it's deployed within the summer, and that it's a 3-degree difference for both winter and summer, decreasing and increasing for 3 degrees. We do for thermostats, let me just jump back to, for thermostats, we see a range. It depends a little bit on whether or not we're in a long heat wave or not, but we see about 65 to 75% participation of those enrolled devices for smart thermostats. That does, one of the things that we have a meeting every morning with our market team, and part of that conversation is, what does connected homes look like? And we're both looking at the weather forecast, the energy loads, but we're also talking about, what are the consumer and people who are dwelling in homes mindsets right now. Have we run a connected homes recently? Has it been a heat wave where this is the 4th day in a row where it's been extremely hot? And frankly, if we run a connected homes peak, do we think that people are actually going to participate? We are able to adjust the language of the notifications we're sending out. So if that's the case, we will often say something along the lines of, we understand that this is a heat wave, but because of the impact of running the air conditioner in your light department today, we are asking that you mitigate the use of that for this time period. So we do try to do what we can to communicate to individuals to participate, and I will say that is the other level of the marketing. If those that are enrolled understand the impact of their enrollment and why they're enrolling, which is to allow cost avoidance for the municipal light department to help it keep energy costs low for that MLP, they're more likely to participate in each of the connected homes peaks that are called.
Mike, do you have any?
Yeah,
comments or
Zoe, it
questions?
looks like you're well on top of this. Thank you for coming over this or zooming in, telling us about it this morning. Couple of questions. So typically homes these days have several heating and cooling zones, all controlled by different thermostats. The incentive for a smart thermostat, is that per house, per home, or per thermostat per se?
You can let me know what you'd like. We can do either.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And
another question, Mike?
So
Yeah.
when someone, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when someone's enrolling a device, you've got people on the other end. My team are the ones that are handling it. So it goes into our queue. An individual, someone on my team is going to be looking at what's that MLP's rules, what are they looking for? We'll confirm that that's a ratepayer with you. We'll look at all the other devices that homeowner has enrolled in their home. So it's a very hands-on, human's eyes on it approach to just making sure that the program is running holistically. So we're able to do a high level of customer touch points, home touch points, and customization where we can.
Okay, and then if a customer does decide that it's too humid or it's too hot and they want to opt out, how do they actually do that logistically?
Yep. So they can either opt out from there'll be a link or a button to press on the text message and the email that they get, letting them know that there's a peak happening, or they can also just adjust their thermostat. So if you adjust your thermostat during the peak, then you're technically opting out.
Okay, so there could be sort of inadvertent opting out if somebody who is not
Yeah.
the parent, shall we say, adjusts the thermostat.
We do communicate that adjusting your thermostat during a peak counts as an opt-out. So we try to be as transparent as possible about it. That being said, it is in any program challenging to make sure everyone's reading everything, but we do communicate it very openly and as much as we can.
Right, and then a final question there. The investor-owned utilities, the Eversources and the National Grids also have run a connected homes program. Is your MWIC program similar, or what are the differences, if any?
They are similar. I know that we work with different technical partners. I think that the biggest difference is just the way that MWIC works and the reason that we have so many MLPs that are enrolled in our demand response programs are that by coming together as individual MLPs, we're able to have more negotiating power with technical partners in demand response partners that are running the program. It was challenging 2 years ago when Connected Homes was being put together for us to find a technical partner that was willing to work with a coalition of our scope. You know, in the nation, we are rather small, even coming together. So we were able to get in with Virtual Peaker as they were growing, and we have a very strong relationship with them as a partner now. We work with them on a number of different programs and initiatives. We meet with them every week, so that's been a growing partnership. But we're able to still give what I believe to be a high level of unique and individual adjustments for each MLP within, you know, a program that we try to run as cost effectively as possible. And generally with cost effectiveness, there's a uniformity between MLPs. So I think that we have a unique balance for an MLP where we can do the things that you're interested in doing that might be different from other MLPs within a program that is established. But to the ratepayer, there's likely not much difference between an IOU versus the Connected Homes program.
Right. Yeah, because I have some Honeywell Residio thermostats in my home, and I'm constantly being asked to join National Grid's program, for example. So they are really marketing it pretty heavily. Is it expensive? Are the fees for MWIC to participate with these vendors expensive, or how does that cost structure pan out?
Yep. So per manufacturer, which we're in constant communication with Virtual Peaker on, are there changes? Some of the manufacturers do not have an annual or an enrollment fee, and they just have a per device fee, which is generally, it's generally about $1 for smart thermostats, $5 for an EV, something like that. It differs per manufacturer, but in that range.
Is that per period of time? It's like $1 per period.
Per month, per device.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So your costs will be broken up, and I did share the numbers with Brianna. I'd communicated I wasn't fully comfortable sharing those are just in open session just because they're rather strategic in nature. But what you'll see is that there's a fixed cost and a variable cost. You got the fixed costs based on, contract costs that are shared among all of the MLPs that are part of the program based on a pro rata share based on meter counts. So you'll have your fixed costs, and then you'll have your variable costs, which if you've got 100 devices enrolled in the program, it'll be that, say it's 100 smart thermostats, it'll be $100 per month for $1 per each device. Some manufacturers do have annual or startup fees. They can be as high as $10,000 to $15,000. That's where we're constantly assessing and speaking with the enrolled MLPs around, is this cost effective? Is it a popular enough brand that we think we could get enough devices in the program to either offset or just make the onboarding fee stomachable? And the question I get most often, and I'll just jump back to this page, Tesla. We work very hard to try to get Tesla part of the program. We are able to reach Tesla EVs through the electric vehicle. We use the telematics onboarding feature that's new to the program starting January of this year. So that's new. We continue to try to get Tesla Powerwalls in the battery program. Tesla's not very interested in having their Powerwalls enrolled in many demand response programs. And the feedback that we get is that they would be looking for MLPs to give significant rebates to a homeowner to get a Tesla Powerwall, because they are really just looking on scope of high volumes of Powerwall sales. So that's not something we've been able to get into the program yet. It's not been effective. And I will say I've had some feedback from some other states that I've spoken to who have worked with Tesla, and they have a very challenging time, even when they get the Powerwalls enrolled in their programs, working with Tesla as a partner.
Do you know what they consider to be a high volume purchase? What's their minimum number for even
Thousands.
considering 1,000.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so like I said, it's something my team is continuously assessing and trying to get those conversations with Tesla. We work with Virtual Peaker, who work very closely with the manufacturers themselves as well. So our eye is constantly on it. It's just not been something that's feasible for our program based on what Tesla wants as of yet. But we were extremely excited to be able to reach Tesla EVs this year.
And how many MLPs are program members in one way or another at this point?
Members are program participants.
Program participants.
There we go. For Connected Homes, we have over 10 MLPs enrolled in the program.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that first time.
It's confusing enough internally, but yes.
Yes.
So that's the differentiator of the programs that I run within MWEC. My team is very unique within MWEC, and that I'm able to work with any MLP. We work under different contracts than the member agreement, so you don't have to be an MWEC member to participate in what I run.
Right, and obviously our light plan is not an MWEC member. But so would it operate, how would we work with you? Would there be a contract and we would sign it for a period of time, or what's your standard arrangement when you make when you onboard an MLP?
Yeah, so the contracts that I do are called Schedule A's. So you would sign a contract that you are a program participant with MWEC, and then each year you would usually in about October, we send out the next year's program selections, and you would decide what programs you'd want to participate in. That's the formal timing of it, but you can also change, opt in, opt out, do truly whatever you wanted at any time during the year as well. We have MLPs that are making adjustments to their program throughout the year, so we're able to accommodate that as well.
So, and are your costs covered by the cost of the program as it is, or is there a cost to the MLP to join the program?
So with what I shared with Brianna, the numbers include both all costs to join the program. So it's broken up between the fixed costs, which is the MWEC staff, marketing, all of that, all of the contract fees with Virtual Peaker to join the program. So that's an all-encompassing cost. And then an estimate on what you might expect your variable costs to be based on other MLPs that are of similar size, and what I might expect to be a similar matriculation of people joining the program within the first couple of years.
And I think I may have seen this go by, but could you just talk a little bit about the data that you can make available in an ongoing way to the light plant to help us evaluate the uptake on the program, or what we need to do, so forth. How can we get more information about how the program is working and what our savings might be on an ongoing basis?
So we put out quarterly reports, our Next Zero activities reports. So that's where we are giving all of the enrollment, participation data on each of the programs to each of the MLPs. So that'll be kind of the mainstay of what you're getting on data. And then at any given time, we're able to provide a deeper dive into that data as well if you've got specific questions. So that's what it currently is. And then just to jump to this slide as well, I am looking to make even more data accessible. Right now, our data our reporting is done by hand. So that's why we have it on a quarterly or as requested basis. But I am looking to get that data to be on the dashboard scale so that it's both not by hand, but it's also always accessible to you at a deeper dive.
So the dashboard is for the light plant to be able to see in real time what's going on with the program.
Yes, and that's a project that I have in the pipeline for 2024.
Is it possible for you to share with Brianna one of the quarterly reports, maybe with, I don't know if it's proprietary, I don't know if another light plant would mind if we saw their data, or if you black out the name of the light plant, if that's appropriate, just so we can have, take a look at what it looks like. That would be helpful to me.
Absolutely. Yes, I'll
Great.
send that to her today. Mhm.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just looking at my questions here. Could you said a little bit about how the program's grown over the last 2 years. Um, can you share, just give me a little history of it, if you don't mind? Over the last 2 years, how you attracted the MLPs and who you brought on board, for partners and that sort of thing, just to get a sense of the direction it's going.
Yes, of course. So when about 2 years ago, when Connected Home started, we had a handful of, I'm sure each, both E&E and MWEC have those MLPs that are always on the forefront of the programs that they're developing. They're the early adopters. They're interested in the new technology. So we had a group of those MLPs that were extremely interested in a residential demand response program. So that was where we created this, really focusing on smart thermostats and mini split controllers in the beginning. And then the program grew to then encompass electric vehicles. Batteries were added at the beginning of last year. And I will say that
That's why you're still waiting on the data for how that pans out?
Yes, yeah. And just to, I want to make sure that when I'm giving numbers, I fully trust the backing of the math. So I just haven't quite gotten to that space there, but it's something we're actively working on validating. So batteries are the newest addition. As I said, I'm working on bringing residential battery power sharing into the demand response programs as a way to grow the program. And we see electric vehicles be the biggest push right now. That's why we worked with Connected Homes to identify the telematics feature within their suite of programs that allowed us to reach the electric vehicles listed on the screen. So that we just added in January. So that's been the most recent growth within the program. Our focus has been on the data validation as well as making sure we have the right manufacturing partners. We are constantly assessing and reassessing those that are on the table. One that we'll be adding soon is Franklin Whole Home on the battery front. Franklin Whole Home is the brand that Vermont Green Mountain Power used for their virtual power plant program. And I just had an extremely good conversation with them around working with the battery, how the batteries worked in the marketplace. So we're adding them to the suite as well.
So I noticed that the incentive for batteries is the largest of all of them, and that must speak to how much savings the light plant gets from being able to discharge these batteries. I assume what you're doing is discharging them at the peak time. That's the homeowner gives you permission to discharge their batteries to cut our peak at peak load time.
Correct.
Is there anything more to say about that? I'm just impressed with how much more you're able to provide as an incentive for batteries than anything else.
I will say it's two parts. It's one that the battery is both has a large impact. I mean, that's why in 2024 we'll be putting a large focus on batteries and trying to move that program forward. It's also that batteries are in comparatively to the other technology, newer to adoption for the homeowners that we're trying to reach in this. So it's part of just getting them enrolled. We'll likely reassess that in the future if we get a large number of batteries in. But right now the intent is to really incentivize enrollment. We strategically see batteries and those flexible demand assets where they're giving energy, not just taking and adjusting, as being very strategic in nature in the future of demand response. So it's something that we're willing right now to highly incentivize. That being said, all of the incentive amounts listed are adjustable per MLP. So if there's a different way that you'd like to evaluate incentivizing the devices, there's no issue doing that as well.
Do you imagine that one of the things I think we consider is that once you have offered an incentive of some description, it's difficult to take it away from the customer and say, well, okay, your incentive's going down. Especially if we
Right.
have the program in place and people are, for example, buying their electric hot water heater, like maybe not the hot water heater, but the battery, or and and sort of figuring the incentive into their payback time for the battery. Do you have experience with that?
So we don't really adjust our we haven't adjusted our incentive levels. What I wouldn't, to clarify, I wouldn't adjust it for someone who's already enrolled in the program. What it would likely be was, those from January 1st on now have a $20 incentive. Those that are already enrolled in the program would have that $30 incentive. So it would just be adjusting those new enrollments. I wouldn't recommend adjusting the amount for the
Okay,
individuals
so
who are
that
here.
would, in a way, that would be part of the marketing to the customers to say, sign up now and you get a a nice incentive. It might not be as valuable to you or the light plant later on if we get a lot of uptake.
If that's something if you chose that strategy, yes, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, okay. I think that is, yep, I think that is, those are my questions. Let me ask if there are members of the staff who have questions or comments.
I just had a couple of questions, Zoe. On the batteries, how do you ensure that the batteries are fully charged when you need them? Is there?
So right now, we can't we don't within the Connected Homes program. I will say that is the new program we're working on with the virtual power plant model. Is an agreement between the homeowner and the MLP, where the homeowner has access to a certain part of the battery and the MLP has access to the rest. So it is something that we're actively addressing, but it is not something we currently have with the program.
Okay. And on the mini split controllers, customers that have multiple mini split, similar to Michael's question about the thermostats, do they get the $5 for each one, or?
You let us know. So
Okay.
we can have multiple devices within the home that are in mini splits, or we can just allow one per home.
Okay. Do you anticipate the qualifying brands list to continue to grow, or?
That's the intent, yes.
Yeah.
Our goal is to continue to grow where where we reach the intersection of it's still cost effective for those that are enrolled in the MLPs that are enrolled in the program and have to bear the cost, and those manufacturers that homeowners are purchasing and enrolling with.
Is there enough?
Well, let's finish with Tom and go back to Mike.
Okay. Do you anticipate having a commercial side of this at any time?
We do. That is something that I am actively working on as well. It's not something we have deployed yet. I will say that we do see EV scheduled charging. While it is not officially a commercial program, we do have some apartments in different MLP territories where we make the program work, but it is something that we're working to make official.
Mike, do you have a question?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Tom was alluding to in terms of the different brands. When people are looking to invest in new technologies in their homes, part of that business model for them to decide which brand to go depends on the compatibility with things like connected homes. Is there an updated list or a way for you to communicate things that you think are going to happen in the future, they're pending, or maybe next year?
That's a fantastic question. It's not something that we currently put on the Next Zero site. So if you were to enroll in Connected Homes, you would have a page on our Next Zero site, which would be specific to your MLP. So your ratepayers would click onto your site, and that's where they'd get all of the your MLP specific information for the program and how they'd enroll. But it is something we can certainly do. We do have that kind of constant list on the back end that we're communicating with our MLPs. So if it's something you'd like to communicate in marketing, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for example, there are a lot of inverter manufacturers that are coming out with hybrid inverters. There are other manufacturers that are getting into vehicle to home and vehicle to grid. I think it's important to highlight those that are coming out with these technologies when and if they are going to be part of the program.
Yeah, no, so that's certainly, those are conversations we're having sort of behind the curtain, but if that's something you'd like to put on your MLP specifics page and in the marketing, we'd be happy to do that.
Great, thanks.
So I confess that I'm a little confused at this point. You said, there's two different programs, and is one connected to homes, so the other one is Next Zero. Could you go over that again, please?
I apologize, and I should have done that as I started. So I'm the Sustainable Energy Program and Policy Senior Manager. So I oversee all of our demand response, sustainability, and energy efficiency programs at MWEC. Part of what I do is I manage the Next Zero programs. So that's the branding for all of our demand response and energy efficiency programs on the residential side. So that's the all-encompassing brand, and then Connected Homes is one of those programs. So if you go to the nextzero.org website, you'll see, and click on any of the MLPs, you'll see that there are multiple programs that are available, and Connected Homes is one of them.
So Connected Homes is your demand response piece of it. Okay. And what else is offered under Next Zero, just for the flavor of it?
We have we do appliance rebates, heating and cooling rebates. We do home energy audits.
Okay, so
Mostly
sort of this,
on the rebates.
right? Okay. Sounds like things that we already have, except for the demand response, which we don't have. So that's your reason for being here today. Are there any more questions from staff or from board members? Nope. Okay, well, I want to thank you very much, Zoe, for being with us today. This has been really helpful, and we're going to continue our discussion and search for an answer for us, and we're going to definitely put this in the hopper and see where we end up. So thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it. And I know Brianna will be in touch with you about any other questions that we might have as we continue with our discussion. So thanks very much.
All right, thank you all.
Zoe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, so
have a great morning.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was extremely informative. So before we leave the subject of demand response programs, I just wanted to ask this Tom or anybody on the staff. I'm aware that I feel like there are there are smart meter, there are AMI meters that come with software that have some of these demand response possibilities with them. Is that right? Or is sometimes the software that comes with meters can do some of these same functions?
I'm not sure on the AMI meter. I mean, I would think that you would have the ability to turn. I mean, I know you have the ability to turn them on and off, but I don't think the meters themselves have the ability to throttle the amount of electricity that's going through them.
Yeah. So it's always though the demand response talks to the individual appliance.
Yeah.
But the software that comes with the AMI meters does not have any of these capabilities to talk to those appliances. They just run the meters.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if that was maybe another option we could be looking at while we were looking for meters, but it sounds like that's not available there.
I think that, as you go to demand response, I mean, AMI meters, I would think the demand response program would start to diminish as, you know, people begin to realize that there is a savings, you know, using power at different times of the day. So
Mhm.
that would be your, I guess, to move away from the demand response, I would think.
Yeah, although I think that people could see the demand response program as their automated way of moving their load so they can save money at the peak times.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to be running around, you
Yeah.
know, when 5 o'clock comes and adjusting all their devices. And so I would imagine that it might even be more appealing because ratepayers would save more money by putting in this automated way of lowering their demand at peak time if we had a time of use rate.
That's true. Yeah, it's the tools. It's a tool for them to use. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's because they're limiting to themselves to I think it was 5 events. They're not looking at this on a daily perspective when prices should jump. They're looking for the 5 major peaks within a month. So I think they're limiting it a little bit. I would almost like to see it being a little bit more widespread, to take advantage of more of these daily peaks and not just the big monthly peaks or the big summer or winter peaks.
We have a question from the staff in the customer service room. Somebody there? You're muted at the moment.
Sorry.
There you go.
Laura, this is Christine. Just a quick question. I know that Zoe wasn't comfortable sharing the figures, that Brianna has them. Could we get even a range just to know what people are talking about? I'm just interested in that. Or is that, if that's out of line, I understand.
Well, I mean, I know that what they shared with Brianna was proprietary, so I don't know that we can share that. If we were to go to the point of discussing signing an agreement with them, we would, because it's a competitive contract situation, we would probably have those conversations in executive session. And then we would be able to dive in, we would be able to see all their proprietary information and see how that affects us. So
Okay.
but we're kind of not at that, not there yet.
Thank you very much.
Still just learning about the program. So I suppose right now you could look at the demand response situations like the incentives that they provide are the incentives now. And then if we come to have a time of use program, the incentive is going to be seen in your rates rather automatically. And so maybe you could imagine for people coming into demand response, once we have a time of use program, perhaps the incentive structure would be different. There might, you know, the incentive might be the rate itself, or maybe a one-time sign-up incentive as opposed to a monthly incentives on the grounds that you're getting your payback from being in the program by having your rates be lower at the times when. But I am interested in thinking about what Mike said about how with only 5, there's probably some kind of trade-off that we don't really get about, you know, what the investment that you have to make in doing an event versus the payback that we don't understand. But that would be interesting in looking at, well, is 5 the right number? Or would they ever be interested in a program that operates on every peak time to manage people's manage all of people's devices for every peak moment? That would be hard for the customer though, because they would be asked every day, do you want to participate in the peak event today? And maybe that wouldn't be so appealing to the customer either. I don't know, but that's certainly worth thinking about. There might be enthusiastic people who would sign up for such a thing, but would it be enough?
Yeah, I think the savings is really during, you know, at the, you know, for Hingham Light, the savings is really, you know, on the transmission peak and the capacity peak.
Right, and then under
Yes.
time of use, the savings for customers would be automatic to move on. But the question is well, we'll get there when we're not ready to go there to time of use structure yet. But if we do, it would be a good idea to put some thought into how we can help customers automate their devices so that they moderate their use during peak times. That would save customers a lot of money. Maybe this isn't the program that can do that, but that would be worth some thought. Brianna, yeah.
So I believe that the scheduled charging program would be every day. So those would be the EV customers are asked to charge outside of the peak hours every single day, but then the other devices they would need to expand.
So do you think that if an EV owner needed to, for whatever reason, needed today to charge at 5 p.m., then they would lose their incentive for the month because they have missed one day of that? That's how I heard what she was saying.
I'd want to look at the scheduled charging program requirements. I know she said
Okay.
if you miss the peak event for the connected homes, then you lose the incentive. It probably is the same right now for scheduled charging.
Okay.
Between 5 and 9 p.m. No charging. That's what she said.
Okay. So this is really helpful. We'll continue our investigation. Any other thoughts or comments on this before we move on? Mike, you look like
Maybe Tom can explain, and maybe Tyler also. When we see prices jump, orders of magnitude in the evening peak, how does that really impact us? And would it make sense for us to tailor a program so that, for example, if a price signal comes out and prices go up to, $300 or $400 per megawatt hour, that we're able to come back to people and basically maybe turn the thermostats down on their air conditioning for maybe an hour while those high prices are in effect. And then when things calm down and the grid adjusts, we've actually saved a lot. I mean, what you talk about the transmission peak and the capacity peak. What is our actual exposure to real-time prices in the market, Tom?
So typically we're hedged, at least 80%. So our, the 20% would be what we're exposed to at any given day.
But 20% at $500 can add up real quick.
Yeah.
So I know that one kind of demand response program that some people do is just an email program where if the light plant is expecting a peak this evening, send out an email to customers and saying, would you kindly turn your air conditioning up or to warmer? And I think HMLP has done that maybe once or twice in the time that I've been in the time that the email list has existed. That's for people who really want to save money on their light bill, when under a time of use structure, that would be a very valuable program to them, just to be able to let them know when, I mean, obviously it's this under time of use, it's the same every day, but I suppose it's a valuable program to the light plant because the light plant and all ratepayers would save if people turn their air conditioning up. But it's also the question of hitting our peak demand. I think those warnings went out at times when we were concerned about perhaps some getting to the point where we might be concerned about actually meeting the demand that was expected. Maybe that's why there's only been one or two of those, because there's maybe only been one or two of those events.
Yeah, we know when Energy New England is going to operate the battery during the peak, for peaks. We know that, every week we know what days they're gonna, and we could send out a notification, okay, this week we'd ask people on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday not to. But the thing with that is, when you get a number of notifications, then people tend to just ignore them. And So I think what we've done is we've looked at, okay, this could be the summer peak. This could be our annual peak. Let's try to flip this one. That's the type of thing that I think we've done in the last few years.
I mean, typically what I see is that the emails and the public alerts go out when the grid is under severe stress.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in Texas. I've seen that in California over the last couple of years during extreme cold and extreme hot weather events. I think what we need to look at in terms of savings for HMLP are the things that people can opt into. They happen automatically. And to be honest, people don't really notice their thermostats, for example, going down for an hour during the summer on certain days, because the homes don't suddenly become super hot. And then when the air conditioning kicks back in again, the solution is there. So we want to automate stuff, I think, so that the customer really doesn't notice, but it does collectively, with a lot of people enrolled, help the light plant keep the rates lower.
I think some of the utilities, the investor-owned utilities will drop in the summer, they'll pre-cool the house or preheat the house prior to the peak. And then, so they'll, put the air conditioning, on for a number of hours before the peak hits. And then they'll turn it down on the other side of it.
So you get up in the morning and discover your house is freezing,
Yeah.
even though you didn't do anything.
Yes.
That's an interesting experience. Okay, so more conversation to come. I think we need to move on to do the rest of our agenda, but thanks everybody, and we will be revisiting this topic. The next item on the agenda is to discuss publishing the videos of our board meetings on Harbor Media. We had a request from them, I guess, to do that. And it's just to be clear, they don't need our permission to record the meeting. Anybody can record the meeting. Under the open meeting law, they don't need our permission to publish it on Harbor Media either. I know they usually ask because there are some committees in town who ask that they not be published on Harbor Media, and they observe those requests. So I think that's why they're asking. And then the other question is, I think they would need our permission to use our recording of it, or they could record it themselves, but those are the issues. Tom, did I cover everything about this?
Yeah, I think that Brianna and I were over there last week doing a video, and they mentioned that they could they could put these recordings on Harbor Media. We would just have to give them the recording. So that was the issue. We just our ability, which we can definitely do, but we thought that would require a board vote to give us the okay to do that.
So any thoughts on this?
So is this moving to put all our past recordings on Harbor Media's site, or future recordings? Both?
This would be just our going forward, I think, right, Brianna?
Going forward.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I go to Harbor Media and I discover they're airing a meeting that happened 2 years ago, I'm not interested. I think they're probably only interested in current.
I believe that's the case. Brianna, is that true?
That's my understanding as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, if they ask us for our previous recordings, if they end up creating some sort of space for all of the light board meetings, would that be something that we're interested in sharing? They're going to continue to exist on our YouTube page anyways, so I think going forward is fine. And we also have a program distribution agreement, so it's a one-page document that we'll fill out and send to them, giving them permission to publish the series of light board meetings.
Thoughts, board members? Tyler, we can't hear you for some reason. So you are muted, unmuted.
I'm okay with it. They're
There
already
you are.
public record.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
Mike?
issue. No issues.
Yeah. Okay, I'm very much in favor of it. You reach a whole different crowd than the people who voluntarily go to our website and seek it out. And I think it's really helpful to, you know, let people know what it is that the light plant is thinking about right now and what we're doing. So, sounds like it's unanimous. So let me ask for a vote to agree to sign the what is it called? What do they call their document?
The program distribution agreement.
The program distribute, let us, I'm gonna ask for a motion to authorize the general manager. No, we don't even need to authorize. Just the board favors publishing our meetings on Harbor Media. How about that?
So
Can I have a
moved.
okay,
Second.
and, okay, all in favor, Tyler,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Okay, great, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is to discuss financing options for ratepayers for modern technology. I guess I would sum it up. And Mike, you were gonna initiate our discussion about this, I think.
Yeah, I really just want to get it on our agenda. I know I've heard some rumors that Braintree was looking in, Braintree Light was looking to do something with some local banks possibly. I know the state may be looking at it. Maybe we should be a little bit more proactive in talking to some of our local banks or even some of the big banks. I just wanted to get it on our agenda and have a discussion on what we should be doing to basically offer our ratepayers some sort of a financing incentive to electrify, similar to those smart loans that are available with the IOUs.
Did you have an idea about what technologies what things you thought we should look to finance?
I think we should be financing heat pumps. I think we should be financing solar. I think we should be financing other electrification.
Like electric hot water heaters?
Electric hot water heaters, car charging infrastructure, anything that moves us towards greater electrification.
What about adding to that list?
Insulation.
Insulation. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was going to
absolutely.
say in many ways that comes first, obviously,
Yeah.
and I feel like
Yeah.
it's hard. We can't really by offering an incentive, we can't really compete with Mass Save, which under the IOU program, Mass Save, people can save up to 90% of the cost of weatherizing their house. And people in our town who do not have gas but have oil are not eligible for that program. And this is just something I feel really would love to find a way that we can affordably make a level playing field in our town for people, regardless of how, because it is the people who heat with oil who are going to save the most from being able to, weatherize their house. So, I would kind of put that up front.
Yeah, I think when you look at the economics of it, if somebody can weatherize their home and go with a heat pump to heat, then there is a monthly savings, which equates to basically paying off the loan if they had the capital to do the retrofits of their homes. And I think any way we can help our customers to take that step to deploy those investments in their homes, that's a good thing, because they're saving money and they're improving the energy efficiency of their homes at the same time.
Tyler, do you have any thoughts that to share on this subject?
I'm, like you, Laura, I'm supportive of the idea that we could find a way to affordably offer our customers who aren't customers of National Grid or on natural gas to receive some of the same benefits that Mass Saved has. And I think, Tom's brought up in the past that National Grid funds that through a several cents per kilowatt hour charge to everyone across the entire footprint. So I understand those are the economics too, and we don't charge that to anyone. So it's a tricky question too at the same time.
So what that amounts to is what would the light plant be contributing to this program? I mean, so ordinarily you would imagine that the light plant might buy down the interest rate a little bit to help customers, or buy down the interest rate a lot. I know that in other MLPs, they've taken that approach of saying, well, the interest rate will be 1% and the light plant picks up the rest of it. But of course, that would really require some kind of a business case analysis to project what the cost would be, and try to analyze what the impact on ratepayers is and what the savings are, if any. Ideally, I think for customers who heat with oil, the greatest savings comes from moving to heat pump technology for heating their homes, but the capital is the issue. So perhaps you could admit, so I could see a program that would benefit ratepayers would be one where we offer insulation, incentive, financing for insulation that leads to the electrification of the heating system. And that would have huge benefits for the person doing the conversion, because of course, heating with oil is way more expensive than heating with the new electric technology. So that's savings for the person in the house. And it's more electricity for the light plant to sell. So I feel like we need a study, a study of what are options around this and who benefits and what kind of investment from the light plant would pay ratepayers back. I don't know. Yes, Brianna.
I did want to mention the Ipswich pilot program is ongoing for tariff on bill financing. Their program includes air sealing, duct sealing, insulation, air source heat pump installation, and air source heat pump water heaters. And I had sat down with Ashley a few times, Ashley Musprat, the president of CET, the Center for Eco Technology. And we had talked about the Ipswich program a little bit, and she sent me over their program documents. So if it's helpful, I can send that to the board. I have their terms and conditions and what they think is a valuable financing program. But something else to mention is this is another kind of outside program that we would be opting into. So there'd be startup fees and things like that. So if there were local opportunities or ways that Hingham Light could, I guess, do financing on more of an in-house basis, that would probably be it'd probably be less costly. But I also don't know if we would have the expertise to do a financing program. I do not. I've seen the calculations that CET does. And so what they do is they offer the financing to the residents for a project that gets pre-approved, and it's at zero interest. The resident would pay it back on their electric bills, but they would never pay more than what the savings of those measures are. And so there's some calculation happening there to make sure that they never pay more than that savings, and they just pay it off as long as it takes. And we have legal questions and a lot of risk questions associated with financing. But I just wanted to mention that I have some documents from Ipswich that might be helpful for this conversation.
I think it would be great if you could send that to the board. Yeah, we did have, at least I had a couple of conversations with Tom about the on-bill financing program, which I think is very appealing, where people would pay off their loan on their electric bill. I think that has the appeal of simplicity to the homeowner, but it does the light plant is the financial backer and risk taker in that case. And for me, my instinct is to say, let's partner with a bank that really knows how to do this, because we're not in the the financing risk evaluation business. So that would be my hit, but I would love to look at the details of that program. And almost, if Mike, if you think that Braintree is looking at a program like this with local banks, maybe Tom could just give them a ring.
Yeah, I
And
can talk to Bill Batiges if they're
yeah,
looking.
see if there's something that we can participate with them in, which would make it certainly more appealing to a local bank if there were two communities involved. Yes, there's a hand up in customer service land.
Laura, it's Christine again. I just wanted to add, I can certainly provide this. Taunton Municipal Light also has a zero interest loan residential rebate program, and they use Bristol County Savings Bank and Taunton Federal Credit Union. So I'm happy to forward that to Brianna and Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday.
That would be great to be able to compare those two models next to each other.
They do it on the items with the heat pumps, the weatherization and such. Okay.
Do
That's
you happen to know, Christine? I mean, do they finance that with a charge on the bill for all ratepayers, or do they? It sounds expensive.
To tell you the truth, I haven't gone through it all, but I do
Okay.
have it all out right now. So I can certainly forward that
Okay.
to you as well.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm excited about looking into this as well. So let's plan to look at these two programs and revisit the conversation after we've had a chance to absorb all those things. Anybody else on staff or board have any questions, comments? Okay, great. We'll do that. Thank you, Mike, for putting that on our agenda. It's definitely something I want to explore. The next item on the agenda is approving meeting minutes, and I just want to suggest we postpone that until our next meeting, because we got them only just a day or two ago, and I had some revisions, and it'd probably be better if Tom sent a new version out. And so we'll do that at the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody. And then, so now we're down to updates on various items. So Tom.
Yeah, so the transmission line project, we had a couple of meetings last probably 2 weeks ago now, I guess, in Weymouth. They were outreach meetings that Eversource had set up because they felt that we needed to do a little more outreach closer to the tap station in Weymouth, and more for people that maybe we didn't really hit on our meetings that we did in Weymouth, and I believe there's 22. So those two meetings were conducted. We probably had 40 people at one of the meetings and maybe 20 at the other one. They were at housing units. I don't know if they're elderly housing units or, but there were two places in Weymouth, both on Broad Street. So again, not a lot of questions, no pushback. People were happy that we were there, and we provided lunch and a breakfast. So they went pretty well. Our plan right now is to file with the siting board at the beginning of April. So hopefully that doesn't get moved again, but that's the plan right now. EV charges are all up and running now. As of right now, we don't have any plans for any additional EV charges. The charges at the light plant at the rear of the building are installed, and we have two inside the garage also. So those are up and running. and there'll be an additional 2 chargers at the front of the building once the solar canopy is completed. And as far as the solar canopy, we're moving along. They're almost completed with the installation of the solar panels on the canopy. They've been doing the wiring and stuff as they go along. So all the panels should be up this week, and that piece of that project should be completed. There is some equipment that they're waiting on for inside the building at the panels. So once that equipment arrives, and they don't have a date on that yet, then they'll be working to get the solar panels operational. So I would say we're probably at least a month away from that at this point, not knowing when that equipment will come in.
What kind of equipment, Tom?
What's that?
What kind of equipment?
I believe it's equipment, panels within the building that have to go in the building.
You mean electrical, like an electrical panel?
Yeah.
Oh.
And to connect the solar into our existing system.
Okay.
Municipal solar.
You make a report. You want me to do that,
Sure.
Tom?
Yep.
Yeah, so the Municipal Solar Task Force has discussed with Tom the idea of branching out from continuing our work to try to help the town figure out where and how to put some solar arrays and or batteries on town buildings. We're going to begin a process of commercial outreach, looking for business partners who might like to add energy efficiency things to their buildings, hopefully with the support of the PACE program, which the select board has heard the proposal on the PACE program. They seemed impressed, but they have not yet voted to adopt the PACE program. They had some questions, and I guess it was to be on the agenda for their meeting tonight, but it was pulled from the agenda because they were unable to reach people at Mass Development to get answers on their questions. So, but I feel confident that at some point in the next month, the select board will adopt the PACE program, which is a wonderful tool for helping commercial building owners add not just solar arrays, but all kinds of energy efficiency improvements to their buildings with very favorable financing. So the Mass Development, when a community opts in, I didn't realize this, they actually market the program. And so the plan is that we'll partner with Mass Development to market the program to commercial owners. And we've begun a process of kind of sifting through the commercial ratepayers and looking for people, on a series of criteria, looking for like the top 50 candidates of people who might be interested in participating for one reason or another. And then we're going to design an outreach program to them. So that's what we're doing. A little while ago, the group decided to change its name to the Distributed Energy Resource Task Force on the theory that we weren't going to be looking just at municipal buildings, and we weren't going to be looking just at solar arrays, but possibly also at batteries and energy savings. But we realized maybe that's not the best name because nobody knows what that means. So we're looking for another name. So if anybody has a proposal for what we should call this working group, they can let us know. And last week, the select board voted to support the article for town meeting that allows the select board to sign leases on municipal buildings for distributed energy resources. So that will be moving along at some point to the advisory committee. Anything else you want to report, Tom? I think
No, you covered everything there.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Tom, can you comment on the transmission project in terms of where we are on the numbers on the budget?
As far as the overall budget, the
costs and how things are looking from a financial perspective.
We're looking at that project coming in around $106 million, I think was the last estimate. I know Tom Converse, our from LIG, our engineering consultant, was reworking those numbers, and we'll probably have better numbers before we go to the siting board in April. So
Okay. And from an Eversource perspective, how is that looking? Because I know there was some changes and so on and so forth.
yeah, right now they're looking at an open air solution there.
Right.
In March, they're hoping to do some boring at that site, and that'll help us to determine whether the open air or the GIS is the best option. But right now, it's designed as a open air substation. So hopefully that'll work out. And working with them, we moved that station back on their piece of property. So there was definitely ledge outcropping where they had first sited it.
Right.
We asked them to move it back, but the problem with moving it back is there's some I think it's they call it a riverfront towards the back. Not that there's a river there, but there's some water there. So we're kind of trying to get it in between those two locations and still have an open air substation, which would be more beneficial for HMLP cost wise, we believe.
Okay, so the borings are scheduled for March.
The borings are scheduled for March, so they were supposed to happen, last October, and we were never notified by Eversource that was not going to happen. So
is Eversource doing that, those geophysical surveys, so to speak? Or
they have
are
to,
we?
yeah, that's Eversource. That's going to be an Eversource station. Although we're paying for it, but they will own and operate that station.
Okay. So basically, if we're going to submit to the board first week of April, everything has to be done in March.
Yeah, we could change it, after the filing, but hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully we have enough information that we're pretty satisfied with our filing, and we'll go ahead with the filing the way it is.
Okay, and just to summarize, we're all set with Weymouth in terms of the underground lines coming from the point of connection.
Yeah, we've talked to Weymouth a number of times. They've given us feedback on the route, and we've adopted the route that they were most comfortable with. Again, the people in Weymouth will have more say when, after the siting board, because part of the siting board is there's going to be there'll be more meetings within Weymouth and Hingham for, people to ask questions about the project and to have input. So.
Good, thank you.
Great. Is there anything new to say about the landfill solar project? Or are we still in the same place?
So Chris Carafas was working on that, but I've asked him to hold off on that right now because, in my mind, it's the AMI meter question as to, are we going to move forward with that? And because the funds, where are those funds going to come from? Are we going to use the funds from the green fund, or, which was what was going to pay for the landfill solar? So I think we need to make some decisions on AMI and, that project before we go ahead with, move forward with the landfill.
Do we have a potential vendor for the landfill?
Not right now, no, because and the reason I asked Chris not to go forward with it was if we decide that we're going to use the funding from the green fund, maybe it makes more sense to go back out and do an RFP for someone else to own that on the landfill.
Not that that approach was very successful in the past either, but
No, but I
What-
mean, it's a different market, and
do you think times have changed? Maybe.
they might have, I think
Maybe.
the price of panels has come down, so And maybe we could do something with a battery there that would make it, a better project for some developer.
Mm.
It would have to be a very small battery, but
So I'm going to suggest this. Why don't, Tom, you and I and Joan can maybe schedule a meeting and look at various approaches for financing the AMI meter project and bring them back to the board and see
Okay.
what the board thinks. Does that make sense to everybody? So we can, okay. All right, we'll do that. And capital projects.
capital projects we've moved some things around. We're looking to do some work over on in the Prospect Street area, Charles, in that area. We've had a lot of outages with trees, particularly in the South Pleasant and Charles at that intersection there. So we are doing some work out there now, which is delayed work on Circuit 6, but the plan is to still get onto Circuit 6 in the coming months. Telephone has set most of the poles out there. You've see poles on coming down Main that are set. So
Yeah, Tom, that's Circuit 9 that we
I'm
pushed.
sorry, Circuit 9.
Circuit 6
the
is
other
the
one.
Charles
Yeah,
Street, yeah.
Charles Street.
Okay, so I think we are at the end of our agenda. I just want to wish you, I see that I can't tell if it's snow or rain, it's something in between, but I think the storm has started, so I want to wish the best of luck to the folks. Hope we don't have a great deal of outages and things to cope with. It sounds like the storm may not be as bad as we thought it was going to be. And thank you, everybody, for being here, and we will see you at our next meeting. I'll accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
moved.
Okay, all in favor, Mike,
Aye.
Tyler,
Aye.
Laura, aye. Thanks very much, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Take care.